Hey everyone, and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate investment community. I really appreciate you all being here for in the free school community that we have to help you generate wealth through real estate, whether you're a buyer, lender, connector, or someone just learning and trying to enter the real estate investment space. So what we're going to start with today, this is our weekly live Q&A and deal analysis Zoom call. So I have a deal that we're going to be underwriting that was brought in by one of the members of the community. So we're going to go over that. I'm going to go over my pretty awesome real estate investment calculator. This is the one that I use for everything when I'm buying, lending, when I'm buying a deal and I want to know how much capital to raise. This one is my creative finance calculator. So it's got a lot of information for subject to loans, seller finance loans, or hybrids, a combination of the two. If there's a balloon in place, if there is a, the various entry costs that might be required, analyzing the deal, seeing how we can easily renegotiate it. What are the different price scenarios that would make sense for a deal like that? What if we reduce interest rates? How does this deal look over the long term? Not just from a cash flow perspective, but also cash on cash return. And what about the total return on investment when you account for appreciation, debt pay down, tax benefits, all that good stuff, various different rental management strategies. I do long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, short-term rentals, as well as pad split or rent by the room. We raise capital through private money partnerships and private money lenders. So this makes it really easy to analyze the deal and see if it still makes sense for you. Look at the 30-year time horizon on these investments and see how, it pans out over that time period. If you're presenting deals to private money lenders, it's a very easy overview, as well as private money partners, super easy overview, as well as the amortization schedules involved for those, and then the after repair value and rehab analysis, if you needed to account for that. So let's just get started. The best way to learn is to actually see it. As always, if you have either the free or paid investment calculator, let me just show you where you're going to find that. You're just going to go to michaelmnat.com. If you want the free calculator, just go to resources. I have a conventional finance real estate investing calculator, as well as a creative finance real estate investing calculator. You can download those for free. They're a lot more simple than the one I just presented to you, but they get the job done. It'll help you analyze seller finance, subject to, and hybrid deals and see if it's a good long-term rental for you. Or if you want to upgrade your investing game, you go to not invest. Unless you want to work with me as a private money partner or lender, but you go to the shop and then you can get access to the paid calculators. The best one being the Ultimate Creative Finance Investment Calculator. Does everything. It's the one we're going to review together. And then consultations. So sometimes you just need someone to help you with analyzing your deals, whether you're a buyer, lender, maybe you're connecting, capital raising, whatever. And you can also buy the bundle. So you get a 30-minute consultation plus the paid calculator. And I can show you how to underwrite your deals or go literally over whatever you like. So there we go. So when you get the calculator, you're always going to end up with a page like this. And this is where you get your unlimited copies from. You just click make a copy. And then we wait for it to make a copy. And you're going to end up with a fresh calculator every single time. The reason why I do it this way, so every time I make an update, which I've made tons of, you always get the most up-to-date version of the calculator. And then what you're going to do first thing is always you're going to file. You're going to want to move it to wherever. Once you make a copy, you want to move it to wherever makes sense for you. Calculators, practice underwriting. This is where mine is. Move it. And then we're going to change the name. So I know this deal's a one in Utah. Oh, before I forget, make sure to stay connected with me. So Instagram, Michael MNAT. We have some really awesome stuff. Oh yeah. Well, there's carne asada fries from San Diego. Super delicious. But a bunch of awesome stuff, always posting. People love these lists about lists and tips and kind of what's going on. My beautiful baby, you'll see a lot of her, especially moving forward. And then YouTube. So I dropped so much freaking value for you all on YouTube and in the school community, right? So YouTube at The Intentional Investor, Instagram at Michael M. Nat, M-N-A-T. And then, YouTube. So tons of like underwriting, different topics, transactional lending, capital raising. It just dropped like 10 videos right before this. And then as always, if you want to be part of these live, you got to join the free school community. I'll have the link below in the YouTube video. If you're watching on YouTube, you get access to the free calculators, all the connections that you need. We have tons of forums, people engaging with each other. We do our Q&As. We have our classroom, which goes over, a bunch of admin stuff up front, traditional real estate investing and analysis, creative real estate investing, the live underwriting calls. And so like you get all the different strategies and all that in here. So with all that being said, let's just get to it. I'm gonna close this out. We're gonna have questions at the end instead of at the beginning, and we're going to underwrite this deal from Utah. So let me open it up. Okay, so let's get to it. This was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home right near BYU in Provo, Utah. So the first thing we can do is look up the property. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, so I'm assuming already it's only going to work as a long-term rental, mid-term rental, or short-term rental. It's not going to work for a rent by the room or pad split or a sober living home. 2 of my 5 strategies would not work on a property like this, but it could work really well for other strategies. Looks like there's a great 3.625% interest rate underlying mortgage. Entry fee is super low, so the money that you're giving to the sellers, the agent, the wholesaler, whoever, is very low. They're not accounting for closing costs or transaction coordination. We'll talk about all that. Purchase price, when it was built, yada yada. Okay, I've actually not seen any of this yet, so this is good. Cash to seller, arrears, assignment. Oh, okay, so they're in arrears, so they're behind on their mortgage and they are selling this property subject to its existing loan. I don't think there's no seller finance component here because the total purchase price. Oh, wait, and then the underlying mortgage, there must be another loan or there is a seller finance. There's the HELOC balance. We could account for that as seller finance, but total monthly. We'll see. When we underwrite the numbers, we'll see how this works out. I don't think these numbers are this 338 minus this, the numbers aren't matching up. So we'll see what's missing there. Cash to seller. Yeah, it says nothing about seller finance. So we'll see, because that's a little weird. All right, so Provo, Utah. First thing I like to do and I already know this about Provo, but the first thing I like to do is look at population. I don't personally like to invest in markets that are too small. I need at least 30,000 population size. That's one of my requirements, because if I ever need any resources, if I need handymen or plumbers or contractors or property managers, the bigger the area, the easier it is to find more people, right? And you can filter through some of the bad ones. So Provo, Utah, good population size. And we'll just get into the deal itself. I like to look on the map real fast. And let's pull up the Zillow listing as well. We got the photos here. It's a little rinky-dink little house. I don't even know if I'd keep it as is. Looks like all these are little rinky-dink houses. I do like to see, the neighborhood, how's it look? I don't see any trash or abandoned cars. That's nice. There's a little fire hydrant here, which, funny, it's not red for parking, but it's like the cutest little fire hydrant I've ever seen. Nice little neighborhood, just small homes. That's fine. That's good. Maybe they could take care of their lawns a little better. They're right next to a beautiful little fix and flip. So it'd be nice to see what this property sold for at some point. Now let's see if this property, there is no agent commission listed here. So that means wow, look at that assignment fee. That means there's no agent commission listed here. So that means this is not not listed by a real estate agent is what that means. So let's see. Yep, so they bought this in 2021, which makes it a very good candidate for subject to. They bought it not too long ago. They use an FHA mortgage. I'm assuming they put the minimum down payment, which is 3.5%, and they rolled in some of the fees, which means if they sell it for at or near the same price they bought it for, they're going to lose money because the closing costs up front and the closing costs at the sale, there isn't enough, property hasn't increased in value enough, or they haven't paid down the debt enough to actually make any money at the sale. So creative might be their only solution. Let's see if they tried to sell it traditionally first. They probably did and it failed. Yeah, exactly. So you can after a while, you can figure this stuff out pretty easily. Oh, so it is listed for sale traditionally, just weird because it doesn't show it here. So it's listed for sale at 345, listed at 355. What's funny though? I say they don't have enough equity, but they technically have a lot of equity between this, because they bought it for 284. Or 285, around that. Looks like Utah's a non-disclosure state, so you're not gonna know exactly the price they bought it for. But 285 was probably within that range, especially if it sat for a while. Didn't sit too long, but if it sat for a while. And then they Their underlying mortgage is 267. So yeah, right around, they probably bought it for right around full asking price. So they do have equity, but they did pull out money using a home equity line of credit, which they're allowing you to buy this property subject to that loan. So let's just get to it. Let's start underwriting. All right, so this property is cool. Let's just do this the full route. And we're gonna, for the time being, we're just gonna assume this is a long-term rental only. It's gonna make it a lot straightforward to just focus on that as the exit. This is a tiny little home at 726 square feet. I have units in my multifamily that are much bigger than that. That's crazy. Long-term rental. So we start with the property information. I love to take the Zillow listing, copy it, and then go here, right click, right? Or you can control K to hyperlink it, and then just put that Zillow listing in there. So when you need to, it's very easy to come back to it next time. Let's go into the debt information. We'll get the rental income after. Let's start with the debt information, what we're all here for. So it says the purchase price is 338,745.88. Let me actually try something here. So if it's 338,745.88, and then their subject to loan is 267,535.71, and their HELOC is, I have a pretty good hunch, 0.17, because the purchase price should be all the debts that you're taking over or creating. So if it's seller finance, you're creating that debt, or sub two, you're taking it over, minus like the purchase price, minus all those debts, minus the money you're giving to the seller, should be the purchase price for the most part, and everything else should be an entry cost. However, sometimes people will lump in the arrears, they'll lump in the assignment fee, they'll lump in all of that as part of the purchase price, when that's not really accurate. Those are just fees to get into, those are acquisition fees, like an agent commission and things like that. They're still part of your purchase, but they're not like, they're not part of your purchase price overall, because that's really your money to the seller and then all the debt you're taking out. Just like when you're buying a property, that's the same thing. If I'm buying a $500,000 home, putting 10% down, I'm buying it for $500,000, and it's the 10% down payment, and then the 10% down payment, or 50,000 in that regards, and then the $450,000 of debt that we're adding to it. So let's see what this amounts to. I want to see this equals that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. This equals that minus that. So there's 71,000 left. Oh, and then this is going to be equals this value minus that. You guys don't have to worry about doing this on your own. So what is it? These three things probably 27,000, 2612. It's pretty close. I think they have their whole entry fee as part of that. So we're going to separate all that out, because we're going to change this purchase price to something different. So the purchase price is actually going to be the underlying mortgage plus the HELOC. So we'll say mortgage, HELOC, and then HELOC. Oh my gosh. HELOC, cash to seller. All right. And then we're going to put the cash to seller, which is 2,400. The rest we're going to put as entry costs. Okay. So our actual purchase price is the combination of these three, $314,933.88. So 314,988. What else was it? 314. Oh, 933.88. 930. Hopefully that makes sense. And the reason why is you need to set up like a standard way of analyzing deals. Even if you are someone who says, okay, I want the assignment fee as part of my purchase price or not, you need to be standardized in the way that you're comparing investments. Whatever your rule is, do that. This is my rule. My purchase price is the cash to the seller, sub two loan, seller finance loan, whatever debts I'm taking over or creating, plus the cash to the seller. That is my purchase price. However you set that up, be consistent. Otherwise, it's gonna be hard to compare from deal to deal to deal what you're actually doing. I like to think of the debts and the cash seller on my purchase price. Everything else is an entry cost or a fee that's associated with the acquisition itself. Typically, you're going to have more fees when you're buying creatively, especially through a wholesaler. However, typically you're able to take on like greater debt and things like that. And and typical or like better debt, and your down payments tend to be lower. In this example, right, since we put we're going to put a number in here, our down payment is like $2,400 here. So we're going to hard code that. We're going to click equals that divided by the purchase price. So it's less than 1% down payment. That's awesome. Doesn't mean your entry cost is less than 1%, but your down payment itself on the purchase price is less than that. Then we have 267, 535.71, and that leaves $44,998, which is exactly what the HELOC balance is, right? We're not surprised because that should make sense. We just added those numbers up and now we subtract, that's what's left over. In this instance, as a matter of fact, we can leave this HELOC here as is for the time being for the sake of analysis as the seller finance loan. You don't need to put it somewhere else because you're just taking that over anyway. So whatever the debt is, all I need to know in this instance is the monthly payment. What I would like to do is, this isn't my deal directly, or we can't go and ask for more information. I would like to understand the terms of this HELOC. What is the interest rate? When is it due? So it says 5 years on HELOC only, no balloon on primary mortgage. So it's due in 5 years. I don't know if it's due to the bank in 5 years, but the seller is expecting the full HELOC paid off in 5 years. And they're expecting $435 a month. You are responsible for those payments. You're actually just subject to two different loans. You're purchasing the property subject to its FHA underlying mortgage and the HELOC, which is in second position as well. But in this instance, for the sake of underwriting, we can just treat it as seller finance. We can set these values to 0. It doesn't matter because we're gonna put the HELOC monthly payment here because we don't have enough information to recreate that loan, right? Since we don't have enough information, we'll just hard code it. The sub 2 loan, we don't have enough information listed here either about the original loan amount to correctly determine what your monthly payment is on the property unless they give it to you directly, which they did here. You need to understand what the original loan amount was, what the original loan terms were, the original loan amount, the original interest rate, and the original terms and when it started. With those, you can recreate the loan. But in this instance, we're not going to be able to because we don't have that information. That wasn't provided by the wholesaler. So you have to ask for that or on the mortgage statement, which we don't have in front of us. So the principal and interest payment on the loan is 1285.16. T&I and M&I, so taxes and insurance plus mortgage insurance. So because this is an FHA loan has property mortgage insurance. It's because you're putting a lower down payment. You're gonna have to pay property mortgage insurance, known as PMI. Here, just MI. Those two plus tax insurance are $532.11. For the sake of underwriting this deal to see if it cash flows, we're not going to worry about what is taxes, what is insurance, and what is mortgage insurance. If we had a mortgage statement, it would break it out much better. We're not going to have that. So what we're going to do is just put the numbers in to make sure it equals $532.11. So we're going to say the taxes, okay, we'll say that is $3,600, so that's $300 a month. Insurance is $1,200, so that's $100 a month. So that's $400 total, and there's $132.11 remaining that needs to be accounted for as part of the monthly escrow payments. I'm going to say 132.11. Could it be that taxes are $200 and insurance is $150? Sure, but for the sake of underwriting, for cash flow, we're just looking at income minus expenses. If some of these expenses are arranged incorrectly, it's okay for the sake of initial underwriting until you get to do your deeper analysis with the mortgage statement, verify the actual taxes and what they would probably be assessed up to, especially if you're buying it at a higher purchase price, all of that stuff. So we have at this point, we have our 435 and then the monthly payment. We're going to list it here. I think we already did. 1285.16. We have our mortgage insurance. So at this point, we've accounted for these two, taxes and insurance. So the PIT as part of it, you can put in whatever info you do have. So we do have that this is 3.625. We know the underlying mortgage was probably close to 270. So this is just an estimate for the time being. You can look up on tools like, let's just actually do it. So we're going to look up one of my favorite tools, PropStream.com. If you want a free trial, let me know. I have the link below. You can get a free trial, a longer free trial than they typically offer. I just provide you my link and that allows you to do that. Oh, Well, all right, I don't know what's going on, whatever, screw it, we don't need it for this. I don't want to try to figure out a password reset right now. So let's just move on. All right. So if you wanted more accurate mortgage information, you could look it up on PropStream. I have plenty of videos where we're doing that, so please just look at another video for that. Okay, we've gone through the debt info, mortgage insurance included, no HOA, that's great. The HELOC balance, the HELOC payment, total monthly payment, so that's going to include, see this 2525.27, it's going to be all these payments. The sub-2 loan, seller finance loan, or the HELOC, right? We're going to just change this to say HELOC for this example. That's why it's so important. I only give you guys copies of the calculator. Otherwise you destroy the original, right? So, because it's good. The whole point is to overwrite a lot of this stuff. Make it your own. Like I have notes and stuff everywhere all the time. Like make it your own every single time. Your HELOC is right there. HELOC payment. Okay, so don't be surprised, but when we do our sub-2 loan, HELOC, taxes, insurance, and PMI, 225, 2.27, it should be this value, 225, 2.7, okay? And the one caveat is we need to put a balloon on the 5-year mark. However, we don't have the actual loan terms to know, are we paying down? It's not gonna be 0% interest, depending on when they took it out. Over the last year, HELOCs were around 8 to 12% interest. So it's gonna be something really high. So you're really not gonna pay off a large amount of that HELOC over that time. And it might just be interest only payments. That's why it's probably so low. But let's move on from that. No rental restrictions, which is great. It means you can short-term rent it, mid-term rent it, whatever you want. Typically, you're only gonna have rental restrictions if there's an HOA. Because this house is so small, and like I said, long-term, mid-term, short-term are the only viable exits I see. So let's go into our entry cost. So we have our expenses, assuming it's a long-term rental, you're not going to pay for water, utilities, garbage, landscaping. That's for your tenants to pay for long-term rentals. You do want to account for 10% property management, which is standard, 8 to 12% for long-term rentals, vacancy at 8%, which translates to 1 month a year, the property's vacant. And then maintenance and CapEx, you're setting aside 5% for maintenance, 5% for capital expenditures as reserves for your property every month. All right, great. So actually let's set the first payment date to what's next. It is 9/1/24. Cool. So you're going to take over and you make the very next mortgage payment since we're in August right now. All right, so now let's go to the entry costs. We have our down payment to the seller. There are arrears or liens that need to get paid back, which means they're behind a mortgage payment. Looks like they're behind 1.5 mortgage payments. I don't know. Well, here's the PITI 1817. So it looks like 2 months. So equals 1817 times 2, 3634. So they're behind roughly 2 months of mortgage payments up to this point. I'd also make sure to see on the mortgage statement, are they also, is there a escrow balance shortfall, which means if they're not making mortgage payments, they're not putting money aside in their escrow for taxes and insurance. You might have to catch those up too, but let's just assume that's handled here. All right. 3812. Holy crap, 20,000 assignment. We'll see if it's worth it. Agent commission, there is no agent commission, so at 0. Rehab furnishing, we're gonna, for the sake of this analysis, we're gonna assume it's fully turnkey. I still account for at least $1,000 to just do a general cleaning for a few $100. Maybe you have a little bit of touch up to do on the property. You have a little bit of drywall paint. That'll easily eat your $1,000 budget. Your closing costs, we'll assume is 2%. You're paying it. Your best way to do that is talk to a title company, talk to other investors in that market, figure out what percentage roughly of the purchase are the closing costs. Because you're taking over these loans, you're not like paying a loan origination fee and all those traditional fees you pay when you take out a new loan. So the closing costs are less. However, it is a little bit market specific and title company specific. Admin reimbursement costs. So in this instance, I have $2,400 for all your transaction coordination, which is going to include getting the deal to closing and then the post-closing stuff that's necessary to take over the insurance, set up the utilities, all that. I pay for all that. You don't have to. You could self-perform it and not pay that $2,400. I account for that when I analyze my deals because I do pay for that. $500 to set up the LLC for this property, and then $500 for the inspection. I treat that as a separate cost from the closing costs. Because typically when I'm buying and I'm raising capital to buy deals, I'm paying the TC, LLC formation and inspection throughout the process of closing. And then when I raise the capital, I need to get those funds reimbursed. That's why I put that in there. Assignment fee, they have 22,000. Man, this thing better cash flow if they're, or $20,788. This thing better cash flow. That's what they're doing. And then carrying costs. I account for 3 months of carrying costs, which are basically your expenses. See the 2252. That your 3 months of expenses. So it's your expenses times 3. And I set that aside as reserves for the property, just in case it takes a little time to get the property ready and rented and all that stuff. You have money set aside, as opposed to not having money set aside. You buy the property, can't rent it out, and you can't make the next mortgage payment because you didn't plan for that effectively. It's especially important if you are raising capital to buy deals, because then what are you going to do? Self-fund it, ask your partner to give you more money. You don't want to do any of that, right? Just raise the money up front. Maybe you pay a little bit more interest because you have a slightly larger loan from your private money lender or your private money partner. But it's very important to account for that when you're analyzing deals. Just make sure you're standardizing the way that you do it between deals. Okay. So we've got our entry costs. See, they say 27,000. We say 44,000, primarily because we're accounting for the admin and reimbursement costs, part of your closing costs. These closing costs, there's almost $10,000 of total closing costs in this transaction, 1,000 set aside for rehab and furnishing, and then some money set aside for reserves. It is not the wholesaler's job to tell you every single entry cost you have, but you do need to know what needs to get paid out as part of closing. And for them, they're telling you cash the seller, the down payment to the seller, arrears, this how much debt needs to get, or how behind the seller is on their mortgage. This is what you're going to pay back on their behalf. And then the assignment of 20,788. This is a bold and very high assignment. Most properties are creative deals are between 5 to 15,000. The more the cash flow or the more equity you walk into or something very advantageous like that, the more you pay an assignment. I'm not exactly sure how they got here. Maybe because they negotiated the deal down to such a relatively low amount. They feel they deserve it because you're walking into equity. I don't know. Let's see if this thing cash flows. So now we have all of our expenses, right? And we have all of our reserves. One thing that we know is the property has to make over $3,000 a month. You see the total operating expenses. We'll see it here too. The property has, actually, we can get rid of this now. The property has to generate, right here, expenses, management, and reserves. The property has to generate over $2,938 a month, right? Same values you see here, total operating expenses. It has to generate that much just to be cash flow neutral. A $3,000 a month long-term rental for a 2-bed, 1-bath in Provo, Utah, I don't think that's going to happen. I can already tell you instantly this deal's not going to make sense without even looking at the rental income, especially not if I'm paying a wholesaler $21,000 to get it. It's not going to make sense. I don't think any amount of assignment would make this deal make sense, at least for myself and my buying criteria, where I'm looking for at least $100 a month cash flow per unit, and I'm looking for at minimum 10% cash on cash return. So let's see. The easiest way is to utilize tools like Rentometer. I'm not going to go into the weeds of, all right, let's go into my account. I'm not going to go into the weeds of, actually, we got a little time. We'll look at a few Zillow rental comps as well. Just for the sake of it, would we say $3,000 for a 2-bed, 1-bath house? I will say one thing I do analyze is what does the property returns look like without reserves? So that's basically adding back this 441 that you set aside for vacancy and capital expenditures and maintenance, right? That 18% of the rental income that you're setting aside. These values will go down or up depending on what the rental income is. So you're actually gonna need more than 3,000 since these will all go up based on your rental income. Because I like to know my net cash flow and my cash on cash return. The way I analyze is how do my returns look when the property is performing based on like the standard analysis strategy, right? Which is account for property management, even if you're going to self-manage, account for vacancy, even if it's in a great market that might rent faster than that, and account for maintenance and capital expenditures, even if it's a somewhat newer property. That's kind of like, okay, this is realistic, or kind of worst case scenario after, the property's vacant for a month. I need to pay for property management. I have to use my full 10% of maintenance and CapEx each year. It's kind of like your Worst case scenario, you're losing 488 a month in this scenario without accounting for the accurate rental income. But the best case scenario, if you don't have to use vacancy or use the funds in your vacancy account, or you don't have vacancies and you don't have any maintenance or capex, what does it look like kind of in the best case scenario? Because I want my properties in the worst case scenario to generate $100 a month in cash flow minimum and 10% cash return. I want them to be much higher when I don't have reserves, right? Because my worst case is around 10%. My best case is closer to 15, 20, 20+%. That'd be awesome. So let's see. All right. All this is move until we get some rental income. So 2 bed, 1 bath. Let's leave it as is. It's a house. Boom. That seems crazy. All right. Provo, Utah. Let's see. Your subject property on Rentometer is orange. So all the properties around here where I believe the code is, I know red, that means they're renting for, oh, here it is. The red is renting for much higher than this amount. And the green is renting for lower than this amount. And then blue is pretty spot on. And there's several blue and greens right around here. Some red down here, which makes sense. You get closer to downtown, rent increases. It looks like here, there's this hospital, rent is a little higher. So honestly, this is a pretty good assessment at $12.38 a month. And then we'll do some separate analysis from here because you don't want to just take these data aggregate tools at face value. But we have 1238. I like to look at the median, not the mean. So we're going to, in here, I'm going to put a note. I'm going to say Rentometer 1238. And then we're going to average a few different tools. So then we're going to go to Bigger Pockets Rental Estimator. So those are my 2 data aggregate tools that I use. Oh, there you go. Same address. Boom. Say 2 bed, 1 bath. So this is 1250. What I want to see between these data aggregate tools is that they're within like $100, $200 of each other. Not because I'm saying they're super accurate, but because, well, yeah, I mean, it's showing me that that's actually pretty accurate. If one says 2000 and one says 1000, we're like, okay, something's going on. It's pretty weird. Let's figure out what's going on. But they're very confident. They have very high confidence that 1250 is a fair assessment. It's nice here again, because you can see the different properties around. See, there's this one for 1250, this one for 1395, this one for 1500. You don't know what they actually rent for, but you know what they were listed for, and then when they were removed. So yeah, 15, 1250, 1395. I'm pretty confident in that around 1250 amount, but we need to get our own comps, right? We need to get our own rental comps. And this is just the tool. So BP said 1250, Rentometer said 1238, right? That's good. They're close to each other. I'm not saying it's good for this property. It's terrible. This property sucks as a rental, as a long-term rental. Obviously, it's going to lose you thousands of dollars a month, but for the sake of comping and figuring out what the long-term rental income is, it's good. They're right next to each other. They're literally within a few percent. So now we're going to go to Zillow. We're going to open up another Zillow and we're going to practice comping together. Go to Zillow. So we have, what you want to do is you want to look on the map. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so you look on the map, we see, okay, we're going to go to Provo and we're going to find this area. So we're going to go to Provo, Utah. Excellent. We're going to get rid of all the filters. Actually, who cares about the filters for now? I mean, I'll reset this for now. But the one thing I like to do when I'm looking for the area, pro tip, put this price minimum as expensive as it can get. 18 million. You don't want anything on here because it just makes it so messy when you're trying to look and there's all these red dots. Let's remove these boundaries. All right, I think it was in this North Park area. So here's Provo, North Park. Okay, so it's pretty close to downtown. That's cool. So it's like right here. I think it was 850 West, right here. So it's this area. So now we're going to do, what we're going to do is look up rental. So we're going to change from for sale to for rent. We're going to get rid of all these filters because we want to see everything. We don't want anything minimized. If there's a lot of rental comps, like a lot, and I would say like in this area, I would put the bedrooms, I'd put the bathrooms and all that. There isn't a ton of rental comps to look at. So let's just see what there is around here and what size they are. If we need to, we can limit it to just 2 bed, 1 bath. So they have a 2 bed, 1 bath listed for $13.75 for 72 days. What's the condition look like? That's pretty gross. That's slumlord stuff. I mean, no offense. I take care of my I don't want to, well, I'll show you what my properties look like. They don't look like this. They're all very nice. So this is, I mean, to each their own, right? This is just outdated. I think it's better to invest the money when you buy a property, raise the right amount of money or have the right amount of money to improve and renovate the property up to the standard that makes sense to get the best type of tenant that will live in that area, right? You don't want to over renovate and put marble countertops in an area that's a D minus market, right? Or a D minus area, but make it as nice as you can within the area that makes sense for it. And then get the best qualified tenants to live there because they're going to take care of your property much better, usually. All right, so this is very not attractive property. But you know, listed for $13.75, 2 bed, 1 bath. So it's a little bit bigger, but it's 2 bed, 1 bath, a little bit bigger square footage, $13.75. Let's see if the utilities are covered. Oh, this is a duplex apartment. So it's sharing walls, covers, oh wow. Oh, so the 135 in addition covers utilities because it's a duplex, they're requiring it. Let's see. Tenant pays gas, electric amenities package. So the tenants are paying utilities, what this is saying. They're just paying some of it through the landlord and they're paying some of it directly on their own, which makes sense because multifamilies typically the water and gas, or at least the water, sewer, and then the garbage is, yeah, it's like pretty much shared. Sometimes the gas is shared, sometimes even the electric is shared. But in this instance, that's not the case. 7 contacts, so this is terrible. 7 contacts for 72 days listed. You typically want a, like at least equivalent contacts to days listed, if not equivalent applications to days listed. So like a 1-for-1 is what you're going for to know that you might even be underpriced at that point, but at least you want as many contacts as days listed. This is not, this just shows this price is too high for the condition the property's in. So $13.75 obviously is not, we can say it's never going to rent for more, it's not going to rent for more than $13.75, right? If it's in similar condition, because this property, similar size, is not renting right on the same street, is not renting for $13.75. There's a 4 bed, 2 bath, doesn't help us out a lot. 2 bed, 1 bath at $16.50. Okay, listed 10 days ago, brand new remodel, right? So $16.50 for a very recently remodeled property, very nice kitchen, not comparable at all to the other property. This is why it's so important to get your own comps so you can see what the property itself looks like. Because if you're comparing that other one for $13.75 to this one for $16.50, it's really hard to compare unless you know what your property looks like. And then what is it compared to the other ones? As you saw on Bigger Pockets and as you saw on Rentometer, you're not going to know the condition of the property. It's just taking this data. This one's got washer dryer. It's like the highest end. It's a larger property, 1050, 1650. Nice yard compared to the property. All right, so it's a very nice one. Let's see what information is provided. So this is 10 days to contacts. Even this one, in my opinion, is considered overpriced because it's sat for 10 days and has had 0 applications. In my opinion, when you don't have any applications in 10 days, your property is priced too high. There's not much else you can do outside the property is priced too high. Tenant pays 50% of all utilities a month. Okay, that's a little strange. Like people always say like, oh, I don't know why my house isn't selling, or I don't know why my property isn't renting. And I can almost always say there's one reason: your price. Your price too high for rent, for sale, for whatever. If you're not getting traction at the price you have, it is too high of a price. As straightforward as that. So this is showing me again, even this really nice unit, really nicely remodeled, bigger interior square footage, a nicer yard, it's not worth $16.50. So for the sake of this example, we need 3,000 plus. Even you couldn't even say this thing could rent for 1,600, because even if it was in similar condition to this one, this property isn't renting for 1,650, right? And every single day you're sitting there, the property is losing more and more value, or you're losing more and more money each and every day, right? All right, so we have 1,650. We have the other one was 1,375. Let's see if we have any other 2 bed, 1 baths. I'd love to see the condition this property's in, if we have anything. Let's see if we can find something. Let's see if we can find the listing somewhere else, an old listing or something. Oh, there you go, for sale. No photos at all, huh? That's really weird. It was a really weird one. Yeah, some of these older websites actually tend to, like a Coldwell Banker, like a traditional type of, they tend to have more the photos. Just keep looking until you find photos. All we're looking for are photos to see what condition is this property in. But even if it's in that best case scenario, really nice one that we saw, you can't really make it, you can't really make a listing. Like this is kind of the standard of like the high end rental, right? Your white cabinets and counters, stainless steel appliances, LVP flooring. It's got a nice little fireplace, washer dryer in unit. I mean, yeah, okay, the closet doors could be nicer, whatever. It's not going to change the price. And it's a nice size 2-bed, 1-bath. It's a very nice size 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it's got a yard. So we know it's not gonna, it can't be in a nicer condition than that. It's pretty much the nicest condition a property will be in as a rental. All right, last chance. We get no photos, we get no photos. All right, we're gonna assume it's somewhere in between that the property listed at 1375 and 1650. And even then, like this is priced too high because it's not rented over 76 days. So realistically, it probably needs to drop a few hundred, 100 or two at least. I don't know why they're being so resistant. They might have owned it for a long time, and let's see. They're being very resistant on reducing their price, which is pretty illogical. It's way worse to have a property sitting vacant. This 1375, if they dropped it $100 a month to 1275, that's a loss of $1,200 a year for the year of lost rental income. If this thing sits vacant for 1 month, you lost 1375. This thing sat vacant almost 3 months. They've lost almost $4,000. You see why it makes more sense to drop the rent, get it rented, as opposed to lose $4,000 in 3 months by just sitting there and waiting for someone to get this price. Okay, so let me show you how to do one more rental comp since we have time. Yeah, we got a few minutes. All right, let's do exact match. Let's just do 2-bed, 1+bath. What else is here? So there's 1,500. And this is right next to the hospital. You cannot get any better than right next to the hospital. Oh, this is a hospital. What is this? Just like a little clinic. These tend to rent for a little bit more. Okay, look at 2-bed, 1-bath, 1,500, 700 square feet, a little smaller, very nice outdoor area. I thought these were weeds. I think they are flowers. That is so funny. There's a very weird floral choice. What the heck is this photo? That if you're a landlord renting out your properties, don't add any photos that do not add value to your property, to your listing. Maybe this is a downstairs unit. That could be what it is. I mean, I don't think so because it's some nice lighting in here. Perfect inside, perfect bathrooms, perfect washer dryer. Carpet looks nice. Everything looks good. This is good. This is a very good listing as an owner. I assume, okay, so once again, you're paying the utilities here. So it's $1,550, but then you also pay $200 utilities. The tenant would. Monthly utilities include all that. I think that's another multi-unit. 114 days, 81 contacts, no applications. It's still listed, so obviously didn't rent, right? Listed July of last year, and within a month they were actually able to rent it. Usually if you remove the listing, it means it got rented. That's the only way to really track it. So it looks like it did rent for 1,500 before, but they've since listed it in April of 2024 at 1,500 and have not been able to. So we know even if it's perfect condition like this one, a 2-bed, 1-bath, 700 square foot, which is very similar to this one, assuming it's the same interior, is not worth $1,500 a month, right? You're just proving what it is or is not worth. The problem with when you're doing rental comps, you don't know what it rented for except looking back in history, but you don't know if it was a good price and it got rented because it's already removed. You wouldn't see that there. When you're looking at comps for buying and holding or fixing and flipping properties to know what the property value is, luckily that you can see the results of sold properties. Not the case here. So let's see. So 1,500 again. Let's see, it's 1,300. 2-bed, 1-bath. Oh, so this is a 6-unit. It's very different. But once again, let's see. I don't even know why they would list photos like that. $1,300 a month, 2-bed, 1-bath. Everyone's really trying to rent these things out for like 1,300 bucks. All right, whatever. So we know it's the data aggregate tools, bigger pockets, and rentometer set around $1,250 a month. Zillow, we saw comps at 1,600, 1,375, whatever those last two were. 1,500. However, none of them have been rented out. Two of them have been sitting for almost 90 plus days. So we know the prices that were listed at 1,375 and 1,500 are way too high. This further confirms that they're going to rent somewhere between 1,200 to 1,300. So the 1,350 is a great or the 1,250 is a great estimate for this one. So Zillow will say 1.3 to 1.5. Okay, but realistically, right, you want a caveat listed for 90 plus days with minimal traction, right? They had very little contacts, no applications. That's terrible. I will pull one of mine up am I logged in here? Oh, I am. Fine, I'll show you guys. So I just listed, I also like to list on Facebook. I just took the one off. Let's see, this one was just taken off. I don't know if it'll show us the results. The 4,300. Actually, let's go back to one of the ones I still have actively listed, although it's getting rented out. I just haven't pulled it yet. This one. Active for 11 days. So let's view our listing, view on Zillow. So like this is at the peak of market. I was testing a new price on here. So like you see the photos, very nice condition property, nice photos, nice flooring, nice lighting, paint, all that good stuff. 2-bed, 2-bath, around 1,000 square feet. This is San Diego. So like, right, the rental income is a little different, but everything's nice and remodeled. This is kind of my standard of how I like my properties. And we had how many? 11 days, 11 contacts, 2 applications. And that's a little slow and a little disingenuous because I updated the photos a few days ago. And this is confirmed. $3,200 is confirmed for me. That's actually a good rental rate because I'm getting decent amount of contacts. I've had applications. I've had a lot more applications. I list on Inago, apartments.com, and I also list on Facebook Marketplace. And so I get a lot of tenants that way as well. But this just kind of shows you what you're looking for, the condition of a good rental property, and the kind of the results you're looking for. A 1-for-1 contact, and you're hoping for at least a few applications to show people are actually interested at that price. I was testing a new price and it worked out really well, so I'm thankful for that. All right, let's get into the actual analysis. Let's finish this up. I mean, it's not going to work, right? 1,250, we're spending. Oh, shoot, this is hard-coded. I need to fix that. I think this was broken before. It's all right. That's an easy one to fix. Current rent, long-term rental property is renting for 1,250. Expenses are, expenses have gone down a little bit because your management, your vacancy, and your maintenance and capex are percentages of your rental income. The lower the rental income, the lower these are, but still it's not going to make any financial sense. You're losing $1,352 a month. You're losing $1,352 a month with reserves accounted for. Without reserves accounted for, you're still losing $1,100 a month. And whoever is wholesaling this wants you to pay them $21,000 on top of all these other fees to get into this deal. Even if if a property's cash flow negative, it's not going to matter what the entry costs are. It's not a great deal. And I've bought properties that are a little bit cash flow negative if they have huge upside in some other regards. For example, I have a ton of equity that I'm walking into, or this property is a multi-million-dollar mansion, like one that I own in San Diego, multi-million-dollar mansion, got it creatively, less than 4% interest rate, very, very minimal entry cost. I lose a few $100 in the worst months. I lose a few $100 a month on that property, but I pay down thousands of dollars a month in just debt pay down, adding to my net worth each month. This property appreciates insanely so in San Diego. So there's sometimes a reason to buy properties that are negative cash flowing. 2-bed, 1-bath, little house that you're paying almost $50,000 to enter, losing you $1,300 a month. That's a no deal. There's nothing you can do to make that a deal because you're buying this property sub 2. You're taking over this HELOC and you're taking over this. Even if you paid off the HELOC, add another $44,000 to your entry costs, plus 44, let's just say 45,000. Increase your entry costs massively, but reduce this HELOC and this monthly payment. it's not going to matter. It's still so far negative cash flow. It's not going to matter. You're a little bit closer to cash flow positive, but your cash on cash return is still going to be terrible because you just added another $44,000. Hopefully that explains why this isn't a good deal and there's not much you can do to make it better. Even if you paid the wholesaler $0, it's not going to matter because the property's cash flow negative. And because it's sub 2, you cannot change the loan terms, right? You're buying it subject to its existing loan. You cannot change the monthly payment or the amount of loan you're taking over. You have to take those amounts over at what they are. If it's seller finance, you can negotiate some different things. Subject to, you can't really negotiate. You could just negotiate the cash to the seller. Okay, we set that to 0. It doesn't matter. The property's still cash flow negative. So there's just no way to make this type of deal work. Maybe you can look at it as a midterm rental or short-term rental. That's for you to do on your own. You have the gist of how to get here. If you want to do that, please feel free to do that. I wouldn't do that personally. I don't think it's worth the risk. I don't buy short-term rentals or long-term or midterm rentals that are very negative. Actually, I don't buy them that are negative cash flow as long-term rentals unless the property is like a huge cabin in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or a multi-million-dollar mansion in San Diego, or something that makes it super phenomenal for that one exit. But I wouldn't just say, oh, I'm going to buy this thing and hope it works as a short-term rental, even though it could lose $1,500 a month as a long-term rental. That shows me there's more opportunities to pursue, not this one. Any questions from anyone about anything? Unmute yourself because we're about to wrap it up. So.
No, I'm good.
We're all good?
Great breakdown, Michael.
Of course, I appreciate the feedback. This will be uploaded to our Zoom, to our school community. So remember, you guys gotta start. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are connecting because I see a lot of winners in this one, but you gotta, you can unlock this training, right? You gotta be level 6. So when you look at the leaderboards and you see the different trainings unlocked, none of you guys unlocked it, but level 6 is hard. I haven't even unlocked it, right? You get all these live underwriting calls, full access to them. Once you get level 6, we have some in 5. I think that's me. Some in 4. So you're getting there, but each level, the more you engage with each other, the more that you unlock. You get the traditional real estate investing underwriting course, the creative finance underwriting investing course, and then all the live trainings, but I do have them on YouTube as well. So there's a little secret for you all in here. Go and watch them on YouTube. I love you all. See you next time.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.